What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 115 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast on this Friday, October 17, 2025. I'm your host, Zach Malum. But before we get started, please subscribe below. Follow all of my social accounts. Let's start things off in the world of football, as both of your teams are in action this weekend. We'll start things out in Denver as the New York Giants take on the Denver Broncos Sunday at 4:05, and Denver comes into this game as 7.5-point favorites, total sitting at 40.5. This one should be a great one out at Mile High, and the Giants, a lot of confidence coming into this game, have won 2 of their last 3, including a monster win a week ago on Thursday Night Football against their rival Philadelphia Eagles. And Denver on the other side has looked really good recently. 3-game win streak, and they've really looked great on the defensive end. That's where it all comes from for this Denver team. One of the best defensive units, if not the best, in all of football. They are not going to make it easy against a young rookie quarterback in Jackson Dart and this Giants offense, but they look to figure it out. Dart really looked good against the Eagles defense, and the Eagles defense, yeah, they've not been great this year, and they really haven't been great on the offensive side either, and Denver has seen that, but it's not an easy task to go up against these strong units, these defending Super Bowl champs in the Eagles, and then a tough opponent in the Chargers and beat them. Although the Giants were at home in that game, they had the home crowd behind them. You saw what it was like when they went on the road to take on the New Orleans Saints, but that's the growing pains of a rookie quarterback in Jackson Dart, and he's going to have a tough task against this Denver defense that in the last 3 weeks has completely eliminated the opposing offenses. When you look at a couple of weeks ago against Cincinnati, Monday Night Football on their home field, just 3 points they allowed in that game. And yes, Cincinnati has had their struggles on the offensive side of the ball, but then you go against the defending Super Bowl champs in the Philadelphia Eagles on the road at the Link and held them to 17 points in that game. Great work on the defensive side, and they completely locked things down, just found ways to win. Not an easy place to go, like I said, on the road in that game. And then they go to London last week against the Jets offense that has had their struggles, but they can move the ball down the field once they're really working. And the Broncos end up holding them to just 11 points in that game. They had 9 sacks on the quarterback, Justin Fields, and really just got to him very easily against a tough offensive line in the New York Jets. So that's a great win for the Broncos a week ago, and a great couple of wins for the defense in the last couple of weeks. So they really have to bring that into this game against the Giants. They're not going to make it easy against a quarterback in Jackson Dart who likes to use his legs. You look at the opposing quarterbacks, and just 15 rushing yards in the first 5 weeks of the season for opposing quarterbacks against this Denver defense. Last week, Justin Fields ran for 31 rushing yards, but you're going to allow that considering the Jets only had 11 points in that game. I think the Broncos are going to look for the same against the quarterback in Dart, like I said, that likes to use his legs, get out of the pocket, and able to scramble against a tough Denver unit. They got Nick Bonito on that defensive line. He's one of the best in all of football. He's going to look to get really to Jackson Dart and make the rookie uncomfortable inside the pocket. So Denver, one of the toughest defenses in football, and the Giants feeling confident heading into this one. The trash talk is all around right now on social media, but it really will play out on Sunday. The 2-4 Giants, the 4-2 Broncos. Make sure you tune in Sunday at 4:05. The New York Jets are also in action this weekend, and they take on the Carolina Panthers on Sunday at 1 o'clock at MetLife Stadium. Carolina 3-3 on the year, Jets 0-6, and it's the Panthers who come in as 1.5-point favorites, total sitting at 41.5. I think the biggest storyline for the Jets coming in is they're most likely going to be without their star wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. Still listed as doubtful, but you expect him any minute now to get ruled out for this game after missing practice the last couple of days. So the Jets going to end up being without their top weapon, and how is Justin Fields going to respond? Well, you got to use the run game, and he's done a solid job with his legs this year, Justin Fields. Of course, the last week has been really turmoil in terms of the New York media, really trashing him and really calling for Tyrod Taylor to go in as the starting quarterback. But Justin Fields, Aaron Glenn believes in him, so he's going to be the guy. He has to use his legs a lot better than he did a week ago, standing in the pocket, holding the ball way too long, and that's really what came down to it in that loss against Denver. The other part of this is, can somebody just give Breece Hall the ball and let him go to work? He's had 88 carries this year, but not one of them have been for a touchdown. So really, when you look at it, Breece Hall needs to be more involved, and really no better time for it than Garrett Wilson being out for this game. Breece Hall got to step up, and Breece Hall, if he gets carries, he will step up to the moment. You've seen that in the past with the Jets running back. So the Jets really need to step their game up, especially in a game that they probably should win on their home field. They're going up against a Panthers team that has been horrendous on the road this year. 3-0 at home down in Charlotte. 0-3 on the road. So they have to really step up. This Jets offense does have to be a lot better than they were a week ago, and they need some other guys to step up as well in the absence of Garrett Wilson, whether that's Allen Lazard being involved, Josh Reynolds as well. I'm looking for a guy in Mason Taylor as well to be involved in this game and rack up receptions, just get the ball moving downfield, be that safety net for Justin Fields, and that really should lead to success for this Jets team. Like I said, going up against the Panthers team that's 3-3, but has been so bad on the road, and Bryce Young has been prone to making mistakes so far in his career. The Jets defense got their first takeaway of the season a week ago against Denver. They need to rack up some more of those, and it could be a game to do that against this Carolina Panthers offense. They got their hands full out wide, though. Ted McMillan is one of the best in all of football, and he's tied for the most receptions among rookies this season, rookie wide receivers, and he's been a great safety net for Bryce Young so far this year, and looking to keep that going. Also, some news for Carolina that Chuba Hubbard will be playing in this game, first game back after a couple weeks missed with an injury. So Rico Dowdle probably going to split carries with Chuba Hubbard, and the Jets run defense is going to have their hands full. Two really good running backs who are pretty underrated in all of football, especially this season or heading into this season. And Rico Dowdle has proved his worth after the Panthers grabbed him from the Cowboys last season. They end up bringing him in as their starting running back when Hubbard went down, and back-to-back games with 180 plus rushing yards, just the 11th player since 1970 to achieve that feat. So looking for 3 straight games of that. Jets run defense has not been great. However, they've got a couple guys back from injury that's really helped them settle down in the last couple of weeks, especially last week against Denver. So we'll see what happens, but should be a great matchup against the Panthers. The Jets 0-6 on the year, taking on the 3-3 Carolina Panthers. Make sure you tune in Sunday at 1 o'clock. Let's shift things to a new edition of a Sunday football preview. If you're new to this, each week I'll pick a couple of the top games across the NFL slate and share my thoughts on them. We start things out in London once again, this time at Wembley Stadium, as the 4-2 Los Angeles Rams take on the 4-2 Jacksonville Jaguars. This one Sunday at 9:30 in the morning. Make sure you wake up for it, as the Rams come in as 3.5-point favorites, total sitting at 44.5, and an interesting spread considering that the Rams will be without their top weapon in Puka Nacua for this one. He's going to be out for this game, and the Rams still as 3.5-point favorites. A lot of the juice is on the Jaguars to end up covering, and I'm going to take the Jaguars to cover this spread. They're going up against the Rams team that, yes, can move the ball downfield even without Puka Nacua on offense, but when you're missing your top weapon, things get just a little bit uncomfortable for your quarterback. I know Matthew Stafford's a veteran, but I do think it's going to be a daunting task going up against a Jacksonville defense that, yeah, has been a little bit shaky in the secondary, but they really figure things out for big games, and they've done so far this season. Of course, beating the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago in a real thriller on Monday Night Football. But when you look at this Jacksonville team, I trust the offense to get going. They're going up against a pretty solid Rams defense that been pretty good so far this year. However, they did get picked apart by Mac Jones and the San Francisco 49ers a couple weeks ago on their home field. They lost that game in overtime. They bounced back against the Ravens last week, and that really tells the story right now of the Ravens, because they've just been so bad right now in the AFC North. They don't have a great offense, of course, with no Lamar Jackson in the lineup. So a pretty easy task it was for the Rams, but I think the Jaguars will make it very difficult this time around. And I think this offense with Brian Thomas Jr. starting to get more involved on the offensive side of the ball, especially with Trevor Lawrence, playing great right now. So this Jacksonville team is going to make it tough and not going to make it comfortable for Matthew Stafford without his number one guy and his number one go-to in Puka Nacua. Of course, the Rams have plenty of guys to go around. They can really replace Puka Nacua in the wide receiver room. However, they can't really replace the production that Puka Nacua has, and he's one of the best in all of football, if not the best. So far this season, 54 receptions, 616 receiving yards with a couple of touchdowns, and it could be even more than that. That's how great Puka Nacua is, and they're going to really miss him in this game against Jacksonville. So 3.5-point dogs. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars, and maybe even you sprinkle on the money line at plus 145 right now. Should be interesting how this one goes, but the Jaguars take on the Los Angeles Rams. No Puka Nacua in this game. It's out in London, 9:30 on Sunday morning. Let's shift things to another great game now in the AFC this time, and it's going to be the Indianapolis Colts at 5-1 going to Los Angeles to take on the 4-2 Los Angeles Chargers. Great matchup between two of the best teams in the AFC this season, and it's the Chargers who come in as 1.5-point favorites, total sitting at 48.5. Pretty high total for two really powerful offenses. And of course, when you look at the Chargers side of the ball, there's figuring things out with Justin Herbert at quarterback, allowing him to run a little bit more. I think he's going to need to do so in the absence of Amari and Hampton for this game. He's still on IR, but Kamani Vidal looked very good a week ago, stepping in as the lead back. And really, Herbert's got every type of weapon that you would want in an offense. Quentin Johnston going to be back for this game. He returns after missing last week due to injury. You have Keenan Allen, you have Ladd McConkey, you got a couple of tight ends that you could really rely on as well. And really, when you look at it, Justin Herbert has a ton of weapons to go to and really shouldn't be short of it heading into this game against Indianapolis, where on the defensive side, Indy's looked pretty so far this year. They've allowed a lot of points in one game, and then they've had a defensive masterclass in the next game. That's just really how the NFL works, but it's been a little bit shaky recently, and yes, they had that great game against the Raiders a couple of weeks ago, but the Raiders offense is really non-existent for the most part so far this season, allowing 27 points to the Cardinals a week ago, and then going up against this Chargers offense is pretty daunting, especially on the road. So I'm going to end up taking the Chargers. They're favored in this game, and rightfully so in my mind. They're on their home field. Not going to be easy. The first tough test of the year, you would say, for the Indianapolis Colts. And for that reason, yes, they went up against Denver, I know, and it was a tough game. They ended up winning it at the buzzer on a game-winning field goal. Still a controversial win that one was. Of course, a penalty on the missed field goal right before that. So that's a very interesting moment right there in the Colts season. But now it's going to be even more daunting going up against one of the best teams in the AFC. So I'm going to pick the Chargers, 1.5-point favorites. I think they cover in this game and pretty much dominate this Colts team and show them really how it works in the AFC right now. Not going to be easy towards the end of the year, and I do think the Colts will come back down to earth after a brilliant start to the season under their quarterback, Daniel Jones. So make sure you tune in 4:05 on Sunday. Finally, we have a great matchup in the NFC. Sunday Night Football, it's the 3-2 Atlanta Falcons taking on the 4-2 San Francisco 49ers, and the Niners come into this game as 2.5-point favorites, total sitting at 47.5. Both these offenses looking tremendous, and it should be an interesting one with Brock Purdy not going to be playing in this one. It looks like Mac Jones will get another start, and he's looked pretty good so far this season. Kyle Shanahan doing some good work so far, and Mac Jones really couldn't transform this offense even without the highly paid quarterback in Brock Purdy. Mac Jones has done a good job of keeping things afloat and allowing this offense to really work. They've done so recently. The defense has struggled, and they've gone through so many injury problems already. They're already without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner for the season, both done, and that's going to be a big talking point heading into this game against the Falcons, where their offense has been electric in the last couple of weeks, and they come off that win against Minnesota in week 2 against the Vikings on Sunday Night Football, completely trounced them 22-6 on the road. Then they had that horrible loss on the road against the Carolina Panthers, 30-0, completely shut out, looked like they're nowhere close to being a contender in the NFC. And then you go up against the Commanders before the bye week, 34-27 win to head into the bye week. And then coming out of the bye week, they completely dominated the Buffalo Bills a week ago. I know the scoreline doesn't say it too much. 24-14, they ended up winning. It could have been way worse than that, even with Drake London reaching out with the ball, stepping out of bounds on the 1-yard line as time expired in the end of the first half. It could have been a blowout in this game. That's how big and dominant the Falcons were on the offensive side of the ball, and defensively, one of the best in all of football. I mean, total defense, this is a complete transformation of a team a year ago that really struggled mightily on the defensive side. So now going into this game against the Niners, you have a tough defense to throw at Mac Jones, who, yes, has looked comfortable, but can look uncomfortable at times. And really last week, it looked like that Tampa Bay defense got to them 30-19. They ended up losing that game. I think it just came down to the defense on the other side for the Niners, just nowhere to be found, considering with all the injuries that they have. Bijan Robinson has been one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in all of football this year. 83 carries, 484 rushing yards so far, with a couple of rushing touchdowns, but all of his work has been done very tremendously in the passing game. He had that 80-yard burst, 81-yard touchdown against the Bills a week ago. The excitement is there, and two of the best running backs in all of football will go head-to-head. Bijan Robinson against Christian McCaffrey, and McCaffrey has been tremendous in the absence of so many weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, George Kittle has been out since week 1, and McCaffrey now leads the Niners in rushing yards and receiving yards. 336 rushing yards this year, 444 receiving yards. Tremendous how he does it, and he's going to look to continue that against a very tough Atlanta front line. So it should be a great matchup. I'm going to end up picking the Falcons. I just think the offense of the Atlanta Falcons up against the defense of the San Francisco 49ers that is completely hurting so far this year. I do think the Falcons end up winning this game. They have a lot of confidence after those last couple of wins against some of the top teams in the NFL in Washington and Buffalo. And the Falcons at 3-2 right now, still chasing down that NFC South, and Tampa started off really strong. Baker Mayfield, an MVP candidate so far this year. 5-1 right now, the Bucs are. 3-2, yeah, not too far back. As the Falcons can rack up a couple wins and figure things out, they can mount a comeback in the NFC South, and they're looking for that 2.5-point dogs. Give me the Falcons on the road against a beat-up San Francisco 49ers defense. So should be interesting. Make sure you tune in at 8:20 on Sunday Night Football. It should recap a great game and a great day in the NFL, and we'll recap all of it on Monday's episode. But that will do it for episode 115 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast. Please subscribe below. I've been Zach Mallow, and thanks for watching, and talk to you all on Monday.